2022 Formula 1 season is finally underway, with new stories, reignited rivalries, and radical changes to the regulations that aim to tighten up the field with closer racing. Its virtual recreation by Codemasters is bound to be as exciting as its real-life counterpart, with an announcement expected imminently if the previous years are anything to go by. Following the remarkable $2.1 billion acquisition from EA, F1 2021 contained a whole array of new features and improvements, such as Breaking Point, 2-player career mode, and 3 new tracks after launch. Given how quickly things can change in the world of F1, it's no surprise that some real-world changes weren't reflected in last year's game, such as some updated track layouts. More on that later, but hopefully we will see these changes implemented this time around. We've put together a list of things we would like to see, including features from previous titles and general quality of life improvements. As always, please leave a comment down below if we've missed any changes or features you would like to see in F1 2022. The very first full-blown story mode within the F1 series, named Breaking Point, was introduced within the previous iteration and contained a fictional dramatic look at what it was like to drive in Formula 1. If you have yet to experience this mode, spoilers are not mentioned throughout this entry, but we'd highly recommend giving it a go. Playing as rookie Aiden Jackson, you were given the option to join 4 F1 teams after succeeding in Formula 2. The first year doesn't go well, however, as the antagonist, Devin Butler, stirs the pot between you and your teammate Casper Ackerman, providing some heated moments throughout the paddock and on track. Devin was briefly shown within the start of F1 2019's career mode and provided a taste of what was to come, as Breaking Point proved to be a welcome feature. Another major single-player feature introduced in 2020 is the My Team mode. You took your place as the 11th team on the grid, making choices on the livery, engine supplier, the second driver, and much more. As the season progressed, the entire field was shaken up to include some confusing lineup changes and decisions, with your car potentially being ahead of the whole pack after the first year. It would be great to see the continuation of these single-player modes in the next iteration. Not only a sequel to Breaking Point, but also the ability to carry your team over to the new regulations. Starting the 2022 season with the same team you created and developed in 2021 would be an epic excuse to continue with everyone at a level playing field, desperately trying to get ahead of the others whilst getting used to the new regulations in a fast-paced, high-intensity development race. Last year's season contained alterations to a few tracks within the calendar. Australia's Albert Park was redesigned in a number of areas, with the removal of chicanes and widened corners likely to result in lap times 5 seconds faster than they were previously. The venue was set to host the Australian Grand Prix on the 21st of November, but sadly succumbed to cancellation and returns on the 10th of April for the 2022 season. The circuits from Spain and Abu Dhabi retained their place on the calendar, with Circuit de Catalunya opening turn 10 into a long left-hander, and the Asparina circuit reprofiling turns 5, 6 and 7 into one hairpin, and turns 11 to 14 also being converted into one long sweeping left-hander. These changes weren't included in the virtual form. Considering Abu Dhabi's new alterations were announced a few weeks before the game's launch, it understandably wouldn't have given Codemasters enough time to make these changes. Spain, on the other hand, revealed the reprofiling 5 months before the game launch, which surely meant it would have been enough time for the team to adjust the one corner. Even more puzzling is the fact that MotoGP 21 contains Spain's new turn 10 and was released 3 months before Formula 1 2021. Hopefully, these alterations will be included in the next title, but this brings us onto further track anomalies that have been present in the F1 games for a while now. Spa's infamous flat bus stop, Canada's super tight exit on turn 4, Monza's huge concrete patch on the entry to Curva Alboreto, and so on. These would all be very small changes to the existing tracks, and alongside the change to Spa's Eau Rouge and Raidillon, will help push the immersion even further. The classic cars available to drive in F1 2020 were incredible. The huge selection was staggering, allowing for the recreation of some nostalgic moments, and it gave you a taste of how these cars were to drive compared to the modern machinery with ever-evolving technology. The invitational events throughout the My Team mode were great, blasting through Monaco with an F2004 while the engine screams bounce off every surface at Massenet. Or wrestling with the insane McLaren MP4/4, as keeping it on the asphalt at Suzuka was a tremendously satisfying challenge. These were sadly excluded from the 2021 version, but we'd love to see them return. They were a welcome change within My Team, as taking a break to complete a time attack or pursuit event in between Grand Prix races was a welcome and refreshing task. Now is the perfect time to reintroduce them so we can all feel the differences up against the brand new regulations. Many racing game fans understandably struggle to feel the difference between various camber settings or anti-roll bar adjustments. Setup knowledge has always been a struggle for many within the world of sim racing, us at Traxion included. It's great that the F1 series includes 5 different simplified setup options, allowing you to prioritise downforce and acceleration, or outright straight-line speed, as selecting a specific one is simple enough when it comes to high downforce Monaco, or low downforce Monza. But when it comes to those tracks that contain multiple different cornering approaches or varied lengths of straights, it's puzzling to understand which setup you'll need without needing to venture onto the time trial leaderboards or the Steam Workshop, of course. This is where the loudmouth Jeff can come into play. We love Jeff. Taking inspiration from another Codemasters-owned franchise, Project Cars 2, you're able to talk to a race engineer about the car's performance and handling. You're given 4 options to select, those being braking, downforce, suspension, and gearing. Choosing one of these would give feedback to the race engineer, where they would give suggestions on what to adjust and make changes to the setup once selected. Adding this into the F1 series would make perfect sense, where adjusting the tiniest thing can make the difference between smashing the perfect lap or just smashing into something else. Furthermore, having Jeff make suggestions on the 5 available presets would also go a long way. If you were racing at Singapore, for example, his suggestion about choosing the high downforce setup would really help the casual player base. The 4 giants within the video game industry have become a lot friendlier with each other lately, as by doing so they please their all-important consumers. Those days being stuck on one platform while your mates are on the other within a Call of Duty lobby are long gone, as cross-platform has widely become more accessible across a whole range of games. Considering that the F1 series has always been published through multiple gaming mediums, it would be great to include cross-platform options with future iterations. Not everyone has the space for a PC, so having the availability of playing with your friends while they're on a PlayStation 5 would make a lot of sense. If this does come to fruition, don't just designate this to multiplayer lobbies. Include the new 2-player career mode, or any future co-op modes as well if the former isn't included. As Formula 2 has been integrated into the series since the 2019 version, adding more support series into the mix would be great. This can give the player extra progression to work their way up to the top tier, taking the role of a driver going through the FIA global pathway. Many players would love this longer form of career mode, as finding yourself in that backmarker F1 seat for the Bahrain Grand Prix would feel that little bit sweeter. Of course, this needs to be optional, as many players will just want the fully focused Formula 1 experience. Formula 3 and W Series would be good candidates to include, considering they both run on the same tracks and weekends as part of the F1 roster. This would also open up more options when it comes to selecting second drivers in the My Team mode, as driving alongside someone such as Charles Leclerc's brother Arthur Leclerc or 2x W Series winner Jamie Chadwick would be pretty cool. Not only would this give the career more depth at the start, but also more longevity in the long term, as young F3 drivers or W Series drivers could come in at a later point in any career mode. Introduced during the 2021 season and returning to 3 different venues in this year's calendar, sprint races, or sprint qualifying as FOM likes to call it, cut down the usual race format into a bite-sized 100km sprint. The inclusion shakes up the entire weekend format, as having 2 practice sessions on Friday followed by a practice session and qualifying on Saturday has been scrambled about to be 1 practice and a traditional qualifying session on Friday, followed by a practice and sprint race session on Saturday. The order of the grid for the sprint race is determined by Friday's traditional qualifying session, and the finishing order in the sprint race determines the grid order for Sunday's Grand Prix. Still keeping up? This format wasn't included in the 2021 video game, but having this as an option in the next title definitely wouldn't hurt. You could still emulate a sprint-style race by setting the race length to 25%, but in the past this also increased the tyre wear by 75%, as if you were racing in a full-length race session at 3 times the speed. Almost every mode could benefit from having this format as an option, as taking on a 100km race without the need to change tyres will create some great online racing. Would you risk the soft tyres and struggle for grip towards the end, or do you play it safe by putting on the medium tyres to ensure grip levels are stable throughout the entire race? No matter your stance on sprint races, this could be a great integration within the series. So that's it for our F1 2022 wish list, but what would you like to see in the game? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to the Traxion channel for more racing game videos just like this, and hit the notification bell to catch all of our future uploads as they're released. Until I see you next time, thank you so much for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day.